Yesterday, we learned about the three-part series of making energy in a plant or in a animal cell. All right. There were three different parts of that. I didn't want to do this. Let's see. Who can tell me there's three parts? There's part 1, part 2, and part 3. What parts were there? Sections of making energy. Somebody write them in there. First part of making energy was called, glycolysis. So put glycolysis in this box. Yep, we had the electron transport chain last, and Krebs cycle in the middle. Where does glycolysis occur? Where does this happen at in the cell? Yep, perfect. Somebody write cytoplasm in there. That's perfect. And where does the Krebs cycle happen? Good. The mitochondria and the electron transport chain, mitochondria. Where does massive ATP production happen? Where does massive ATP production happen? Which portion of the cycle? Use your little arrow pointers and point. Does it happen during glycolysis, Krebs cycle, or the electron transport chain? Yep. Right? We have a little bit of ATP made during glycolysis. Pardon me. A little bit of energy made during Krebs cycle, but mostly FADH and NADH.
Bless you.
And then we bulk make our ATP during the electron transport chain. Good. And what macromolecule from unit 2, what non-living molecule from unit 2 is so important for this energy making process? Thank you. Yep, it is a carb. What carbohydrate? What carbohydrate is so important? Yes, glucose, right? That's why we learned about these macromolecules first. Now we're going to look at how those macromolecules are important in our cellular organelles in our everyday cellular processes. Good job. All right, so today we're going to move on from cellular respiration and we're going to look at another way that we make energy. So for those of you that are joining us online in the recording and not in class, there is going to be a Jamboard that you'll be able to visit here at the we'll say tomorrow, because everybody was not able to upload their things yet this morning. We have those comics that we worked on yesterday, and that's going to be a way of helping you understand and learn and kind of synthesize what that is. You'll be able to visit that starting tomorrow and review everyone's comic strips of cellular respiration. Today, we're going to break our goals into 2 sections. Who would like to read what in the world we're going to do in biology today? How are we going to move on from cellular respiration? All right, let's have Pip do the first 2, Ireland do the second 2, and Aria, I'm going to have you read the next slide for me, okay?
Sounds good. Just making sure you guys can hear me real quick.
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead and read those objectives for us.
All right. Explain how reactant and products of cellular respiration are important to living organisms, which is the understanding, and what is the formula for photosynthesis, which is the knowledge. Thank you.
Awesome.
What gas from photosynthesis? Where does photosynthesis take place inside the cell?
Wonderful. Good job, guys. Thank you so much. And you can see again that we are back down here on the bottom of the triangle today because we're starting a new process. So after 1 day of cellular respiration, we started to climb the triangle to like having a deeper level of understanding of what cellular respiration was. Today we come back down here to rebuild our understanding and knowledge of what photosynthesis is. So we're going to take a look at the bottom of that triangle and rebuild some things. We kind of already did this in our warm up, so we're not going to do this again. All right. But this is just showing us again that our glycolysis from last week happens outside of the mitochondria. We make 2 ATP. The second step is that Krebs cycle, or another name for that is the citric acid cycle. All right, that's where we produce the NADH and FADH. You see them coming out here. You also produce 2 ATP, and then you move into the last phase of that electron transport chain where you make the bulk of your ATP. Right, that's a good diagram to copy. So similarly to our equation that we use for cellular respiration, you're going to see appear the products and the reactants to photosynthesis. So our reactants, what do we have as our reactants? You want to read that for us, Arya? What are we going to put together, mix together today to get what we want as the end product? So we kind of compared this to cooking, didn't we, Arya?
Yeah, so read it like an equation.
Yes, sure. That'd be perfect.
Okay, so on the reactant side, we have CO2 or carbon dioxide plus H2O or the water, and that gives us our product side, which is this glucose equation plus our oxygen gas.
Good. So Ari, if I were making brownies, what would be the like eggs and the oil and the brownie mix for photosynthesis? Is that too?
That would be, yeah, those would be our reactants because those are like our ingredients.
Perfect. Sorry, I hope that didn't catch you off guard. I was like, hope she's okay with me asking. I
You're
feel like
good.
and good. So then this product side would be like the brownies that come out of the oven and that you can cut up and ready to serve your guests. I saw that, Cody. I'm so sorry that it took you a while to get in. I was asking somebody else too why, if anybody else had any issues getting in. I'm so sorry. All right. Sorry, I'm catching up on chat. Faith, you had issues too. All right. It looks like there have been several of you. I'm so sorry that you had issues getting in here. All right. So we talked in cellular respiration that you get oxygen from breathing it in through our lungs, and our bloodstream is the delivery system, right? And we also talked about how you get the glucose from our from our carbohydrates that we eat from our stomach, from the intestine. So let's look over here at the reactants in photosynthesis. Where does the plant get carbon dioxide and where does the plant get water? Where does the plant get carbon dioxide and where does the plant get water? We aren't looking quite at the energy yet. The energy is made. No, not quite the sun. Where's it getting carbon dioxide? Where do you think? Anyone know? Do I have you stumped? Nope, it's not from the sugars. Because see, look, Pip, on this side's where the sugar is. So for on the plant cell, we've got the glucose on the product side. Kind of, Kaden. Kind of from people. Right? Because we put out carbon dioxide as our product of cellular respiration. So we get rid of it as like a waste product, but how does the plant get it in? How do the plants get that carbon dioxide in? Ooh, everyone says the sun, which makes sense because we think of the sun when we think of photosynthesis. You're kind of right, Pip. But do plants have lungs? Ooh, yeah, I like where we're going. Look, we're as a class thinking. They don't have not the roots is a good idea. Their roots don't bring in the carbon dioxide, but their roots bring in something else, Ireland. What does the roots bring in? Yes. Okay. So we've solved one of the mysteries. So this reactant, the water, it gets the water from the roots. So just like the blood delivers oxygen and glucose, the roots of the plant deliver water to the rest of the cells of the plant. Check. So carbon dioxide, if they don't have a mouth or lungs, what's the respiratory system of a plant? The leaves are part of how the CO2 gets in. So what happens on a plant is they have little pores all over their leaves. Okay? These pores are called stomata. Stomata. Everybody say it out loud or type it in chat. It's such a funny word.
Stomata.
Stomata. It sounds like Akuna Matata from The Lion King. Please tell me you know
Hakuna
what.
Matata means no worries. Now y'all gotta learn about the stomata.
Yes. Good. So stomata they're little pores, and you might think of them as little windows in the plant. So these stomata actually can open and close like on the plants. So they will open specifically sometimes they will open during the night and they will close during the day. Just like we sometimes do with our windows, right? In the fall, we'll open them at night and we close them during the day. Why do we do that? Why do we open our windows at night and keep them closed during the day? Let the air in so they're not hot. Good. Well, what happens when the sun comes out? Right, the temperature rises. What happens to a plant if they get too much sunlight? Yeah, they die, they shrivel, they get burnt up, right? Can a plant decide, oh goodness, I just like when you're outside in the sun, like maybe working or by the pool or at the beach, and you're like, oh man, I'm feeling like a little burnt or a little dehydrated. I think I'm going to go inside. Can a plant decide they've had enough of the sunshine and walk inside? Get out of the sun? No. They don't have legs. All right. Because they don't have legs, they have these stomatas in their cells. And it basically allows them to say, you know what? That's enough. And they can shut those windows and not let the oxygen or air in and out. Because basically, what happens if it gets too much in or out, it can cause damage. All right. So the stomata will open and close to let the carbon dioxide in. So we get the carbon dioxide from their stomata, we get the water from their roots, and we use those to create glucose and oxygen gas. All right. So here is another slide that I like to show you the opposites, right? So if you look at photosynthesis compared to what we learned yesterday, we've got glucose on opposite sides of the equation. We also have oxygen on opposite sides of the equation. and carbon dioxide on opposite sides of the equation, and water. So, photosynthesis and cellular respiration have the same goal of making energy for their cells in the form of ATP. But the great thing is that we use opposites. Oh, goodness, there's a lot going on in chat. Hold on one second. I don't want to turn chat off, but I have to be able to watch chat and talk. And I can't do both because that's a lot. All right, so that is an important observation to make, is that why does life and balance work so well in nature? And that's because we are exact opposites, all right? They're besties. What we need is what the plants give off, and what the plants give off is what we need. And so this creates a really nice harmony. Let's do a quick check. Ireland, do you want to read this for us?
Sure. Well, polling, okay. Which pair of terms are missing from A and B on the diagram? A chlorophyll, B water, B a carbon dioxide, B oxygen, blah, blah, blah. C A oxygen, B ATP, D A oxygen, B carbon dioxide. Goodness, it's confusing.
Awesome. Good job. So what is missing? All right, this is photosynthesis, okay? What is missing? It's got light energy from the sun. We have water from the roots. What else do we need? And then we get sugar in what? Good job, guys. Right? We need carbon dioxide that we get from the stomata, those little pores in the leaves, right? They absorb that. They open their windows, they let the CO2 in, and when they have enough, they shut it. Same thing with the water from our roots, and then they use that sun's energy, right? That they also use the stomata to open and close and let the light energy in through their stomata, right? Those stomata are like the windows of our plant cell. Great job. Let's move down here and let's take a peek. So where does photosynthesis take place in the cell? And we talked about that at the beginning of class. You are right. The chloroplast is where photosynthesis takes place inside of the plant cell. All right. Inside of the chloroplast, you have these pancakes. All right. These green pancakes. Does anybody know what these are called? Anybody know what these are called? Let's move to this one. These are called thylakoids. Thylakoids. In other words, you just have to say, because it's just weird. All right. It is a thylakoid. All right. The green pancakes are thylakoids. And this is where the magic happens. This is where step one happens in photosynthesis. So, step one in cellular respiration is glycolysis. Okay. Glycolysis, step one in photosynthesis, happens in the thylakoid, not the cytoplasm. And what happens is that this thylakoid is, I want you to think of Jello. Jello, all right? I want you to picture yourself holding a clear 9x13 pan of Jello. Is everybody holding it? What color is your Jello? Shake
I'm
it. What
sorry.
happens when you kind of move your pan?
I don't have Jello, but if I were to shake it, it would like move around. It would just jiggle.
It would jiggle. I like the jiggle word, right? It's not going to like flop out of my container. It's not going to move in waves like if it were water or liquid, we learned words in probably physical science. Physical sciences, I think ninth grade. Tell me what happens to light. There are different ways that light can bounce. All right, this is why we see ourself in a mirror. Right. Yes. So we have refraction, we have reflection, and I think there's one more. Right? Light reflects or it refracts. All right. Reflection is why we can see ourselves in the mirror, right? Those beams are straight. They beam straight in the mirror and straight back out. What happens in refraction? What happens in refraction to the light energy? Kind of it's dispersion.
When I think
Yes,
of refraction, I think of like if you put a pencil in water, it looks like it is broken. So yeah.
good. So what happens is when the sunlight comes into the thylakoid, it's kind of like jello. It kind of is like that water. It's not it makes that light change directions. It bends it. It doesn't directly reflect it. It bends the light. And when it creates that bend, guess what is lost? It slows down this ray from going straight. It slows it down and it bends it. And when it bends that, when it slows down that energy, guess what happens? Guess what gets lost in that thylakoid? What might be lost from that ray? Yes, energy. That's how we capture the energy. All right, it's like a dream catcher of energy. The thylakoid is like a dream catcher of energy. When it moves those rays, it slows those sun rays down and refracts that light. And when it does that, it's able to be catch some of that energy. All right. And when that thylakoid captures some of that light energy, look what we make. Can anybody read that? Type in chat. Our NAD, uh, our NAD and our phosphate becomes NADPH, and our ADP and an extra phosphate becomes ATP. All right, so after step one, coming out of the thylakoid, after that water is here, the energy comes in, the thylakoid captures it, and these molecules are hanging out waiting for that energy from the sunlight to be refracted. And then they're like dibs, right? And we make ATP and we make NADPH or NADPH. Why do we want NADPH? We now know the value of NADPH. What did we do with NADPH? What was this guy? Why is he valuable? Why did we want NADPH and FADPH yesterday? Why were we like, we're trying to make ATP. Who cares about this random NADPH? What do you think about the electron transport chain? Why did we make so much in the Krebs cycle? We made all those fruits with the top. Why did we make all those fruits? We didn't want fruits. We want ATP. Right? Because we use that NADPH to make the fruits. All right. Like the NADPH is like the brownie mix. Does that make sense? So we are making like a bunch of brownie mixes right here with this NADPH. And because when it goes, just like that NADPH went into the electron transport chain, all of that NADPH turned into ATP, right? We broke all those bonds in the next phase of cellular respiration to make ATP. And similarly, in photosynthesis, here in the thylakoid, we make a bunch of NADPH to send it over here to the Calvin cycle. And guess what we're going to do in the Calvin cycle? The Calvin cycle is very similar to the electron transport chain. We're going to break that NADPH that we made over here in step 1. We're going to break that NADPH in step 2 and make lots of ATP. Does that make sense? It's like we make it to break it. It's just like brownie mix, actually. Why do they make brownie mix? Can you eat brownie mix? Is brownie mix alone what you want it to be? No. If I have brownie mix and I don't have an oven and I don't have eggs and I don't have oil or water, it's worthless, right? Why do I want 25 brownie mixes? Well, I want 25 brownie mixes because of what I'm able to do with them, right? What am I able to do with 25 brownie mixes? Well, when I have the right reactants, I'm able to make a lot of brownies in the Calvin cycle. I'm able to make a lot of ATP in the Calvin cycle. Hopefully, excuse me, I'm sneezy today. Hopefully
Bless
that
you.
makes sense. It's just like, thank you, just like that. All right, let's look at this. So I like the example of this. What are things you put in? So just like today, you had to have certain reactants that you put in to start a process, and then you get something else out. What are some other processes we know or are familiar with? Ooh, Kool-Aid. I like that, right? It's the same way. Kool-Aid is the brownie mix. Kool-Aid is the NADPH. Kool-Aid without water is useless. But if you put Kool-Aid in water, you get a lot of juice, right? Coffee, good. I love it. Yep, exactly, Pip. That's what this example is showing us. Yep, I love that. Ooh, that sounds yummy. S'more pie. Good. So hopefully this kind of walks you through. Now to these, I was talking to some of my teacher friends yesterday. These next few lessons, they're tough, guys. These are deep bio lessons. These are deep biology lessons. And if we don't pay attention and we don't put in time between our lessons together, working on this on your own, this is not going to make sense. This is not something I can like firm up in your mind in 40 minutes of class time together. I want to say I'm a good teacher. All right. I work really hard to try to make things make sense to you, just like this diagram, right? But you are, thank you. But we have to really do these things on our own in order for this to make sense. So that is my challenge for you today. If you did not make your comic yesterday, I want you to really spend time doing that today. Maybe you need to make a chart like this. I'm telling you guys, I would go to school when I was in college. I would listen to my professors talk for an hour. And I am not lying to you. As a graduate student, I would go back to my dorm room and I would get out a box of Crayola markers and I would make drawings that were a lot like this, that took whatever my professor was saying and I put it in things that made it simpler, or in pictures, or in an order that made sense to me. Okay. So, step one, what do? Well, we take in water and sunlight, we gather the ingredients, right? That's what we do in photosynthesis. What is the first step in the light dependent reaction that happens in the thylakoid? Well, we're going to make ATP and we're going to make lots of that NADPH. It's like the brownie batter. You're not going to just eat the brownie batter. In fact, if you eat the brownie batter, it's not as good as the product and it doesn't make as much
Yeah.
as the product.
And you can also get sick from it. This is why there are warnings not to eat raw brownie batter.
Yep, to eat those eggs that aren't cooked. All right, and then that last step, that light independent reaction, and we'll look more at the independent and dependent tomorrow. All right, is when we actually cook the brownies. It's when we break that NADPH up, just like in the electron transport chain, and we make that massive amount of ATP. We get that output that we're looking for, which is ATP, which is that cellular energy that our plants need to do their everyday functions. All right. So that is my challenge for you today. All right. Is I need you to level up. I need you to pick something to do. Here is a game you can play. If you'd like to play a game, I made you one. Okay. Make a flashcard. This flow chart that I'm talking about right here, now these are things that you can choose to do. These are not assignments, but this is me telling you biology is getting hard and that you're not going to continue to do well or understand things. Oh, I'll grab that link for you. If you guys don't put in some extra time, okay? So please, spend some extra time today going through those. I'm going to send that link out, okay? I'll send that out in an email today. The photosynthesis game. But show me right now with your pointer fingers, what are you going to do? Are you going to play the game? Are you going to make flashcards of all these words? Because you're like, well, NADPH, these equations, thylakoid, stomata, chloroplast, chlorophyll. This is just a lot for me. Maybe you're going to watch the recording. Maybe you're a reader, and when you read, things just cement for you. If when you read, things make better sense, really commit to go back and do the reading. Okay? I love that.
I have the link. Since the link on board is not live, I'll put it up here.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. The link is not live.
All right. So there you go, guys. That is what we want to do. I want you to know this stuff, not just for me, but guess what we have at the end of the school year? What do you have in March, April for this class that you don't have with every class?
You know, state testing, that's just a thing.
Mm-hmm. This will 150% be a part of your state test. Guaranteed. It will ask you about how a cell makes energy in the mitochondria. It will 1000% ask you how a plant cell makes energy. All right. Is this the slide you're looking for? All right. So what I want you to do is commit to one of those things today. And I'm not scaring you with this. I'm telling you this because I want to help you learn this now and cement it in your mind now, so that when you get to that point, we've put this in our brain as the knowledge, right? We haven't just done the bottom of that triangle where our mind might forget it, but our brain is clear up here at the top. You're going to do great, Ireland, I promise you. It's our job as teachers to help prepare you. And if you guys do your best, we're gonna do our best to help you too.
Right.
Awesome. Well, you are done for the day. Feel free to head out. I will see you tomorrow morning. I really want you to spend some time on this today. If you did not make that comic, send it to me or put it in the Jamboard. Is there a quiz today? You know what? That is a good question. Because I haven't been following. There might be. Yes, there is a quiz on photosynthesis. I will open it up. I don't think it's open yet. So I will open that for us today. Okay. You can take it today or you can take it tomorrow because we aren't quite finished yet with photosynthesis. So if you're feeling like you're not ready yet, that's understandable because we're not done. We're going to go over it one more time tomorrow. But I will open it today so that if you're feeling confident and want to get that under your belt, you can. All right. It will go live after class. Yep. No problem. The link to the comic. Yes, give me 1 second here. I'm in like a couple windows trying to make sure this will open up. The comic is you asked me too fast. Let me peek. Comic that. Oh, that is so exciting, Lexi. Oh my goodness. That is the sweetest.